Welcome to the Party Invite podcast, where we strive to bring together a diverse group of enthusiasts to play, discuss, and enjoy everything video games. Tonight we have party members Vilos.
That's me.
Tegan.
What's happening?
And I am Chairman Mao. This week we'll go over what we've played this past week and our party topic, which is all about the recent resurgence of open world games. So speaking of open world games, I have been playing Horizon Forbidden West, and let me tell you, that game is good.
That's a good.
It's real good. Yeah. I kind of feel bad for it because of this whole Elden Ring thing. But as I think I popped into the Discord last night and was talking to Jerp about it. But I was like, I mean, I'm already like, Horizon is pretty challenging, so I'm not really that excited to go run and play something that's even harder than that and more obtuse and more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm already still feeling, I'm getting better at it, but I'm still feeling like, yeah, you're not really doing any of this right, are you? Yeah, some of those machines, oh boy. That's
They'll get you.
They'll get you. I ran into a hippo today.
Nice.
The
wide maw.
Yes, a wide maw. That's it. Yep, good call.
You know how I know what that one's called?
Why?
Because Machine Strike. Because I saw it in the game of Machine Strike before Lizzie saw it in the game. I was like, whoa, whatever this is, that looks cool. And so when she found it, she was really excited about it. Oh no, there's an error of death on our PlayStation. Lizzie's just trying to boot up Horizon right now.
Oh no, that's bad.
Yeah, that's
you don't want those. But anyway, this game is really pretty. All the people's faces are insane looking. There was a moment the other night when I was playing, and I was getting to this town of Plainsong, which is I can't remember the tribe's name. Don't hate me, but there's a lot of tribes, and trying to remember exactly what their names are is a problem. Or like trying to remember exactly who they are and what they're doing. This one I get because it's very clear. But the city of Plainsong is like their big city of this tribe, and they are like of the earth. So they plant seeds and farm and try to cultivate. And all these things.
Chris, you love it as much as me how each of the tribes like has all these metaphors that are so. They're so the people who all like the sun. Everything is like, oh well, even on a cloudy day, the clouds will clear and the sun will come out, or everything is like something to do with spark. And then when you reach these people in Plainsong, everything is plant metaphors. And they got all sorts of ones where I'm like, oh, that's pretty clever. That's I like that. I'll take that. Somebody's gonna hear me say that and it'll be like, you're weird for saying that, but you're right. I'll be like,
yeah. So this moment of getting to Plainsong is like there's a whole bunch of old antennas, and there's the red blight kind of everywhere. And there's these giant antennas, and you're like coming into the city, and it's just fucking beautiful. Like it's so cool, and the whole city is doing this thing called a chorus, which is like they sing basically when they are trying to make a decision, or like a political decision is being made. Like a part of that process is like singing this song. So as you're riding up to the city, you start hearing voices and like people singing, and you're just like, what? This is amazing. Like it's been a while since I've had one of those moments. And again, I guess it wasn't that long ago. The first time music kicks in Death Stranding. Oh, very nice. But yeah, it was just like one of those mouth drops open part of the game. It's so pretty looking. You're like walking up to this place. You know it's going to be a big story moment. Yeah, it was really good. I will say though, those story cutscenes and like missions can go on for a very long time. Like I'm like, oh, I'll get in, knock out a mission or two, and be good. No, you're just going to knock out this one mission because it's 30 minutes long. 30 to an hour long.
Yeah.
Uh,
Chris, you asked me the other day. You said, "Is Lizzie doing the side quests?" And honestly, I
yeah,
didn't know because when I'm just watching, I can't always tell what's the side quest and what's the main quest because
true.
like they're not just like go over here and kill 8 boars. There's a
Right.
whole thing with characters that you have or haven't seen before, and all this stuff. So yeah, so I really didn't know if I was watching side quests or not because you'll see those characters a lot when you just go around. So it feels like it's all the main story, at least from a
Yes.
casual spectators, which is both good and bad. It's harder to get a bite-sized bit on your lunch break, but there's definitely a lot more to sink your teeth into anytime you're just poking around.
Yeah, and I recently got up to, I'm at like level 18 or 19 now. And before I did that big quest at Plainsong and everything, it was like this quest is level 15 and you're level 15. But everything before that I was doing, I was like over leveled. So, I was like 5 levels higher or whatever and doing these side quests and just like running right through them. Now I'm getting to a point where like the side quests are at my level, the main story missions are higher than my level or like right around my level. So I noticed that like, oh, I'm at the point in the game where everything's going to get less easy unless I run around and try to knock out some of these side quests. But like I said, it's not easy. Like even these side quests, I'm like, God damn. Like you really got me going, and I'm like, I saw the hippo, and I tried to fight a hippo. That was tough.
Yeah.
And then he has like 2 little buddies. It's like, that stuff is, it's a lot more difficult than I think people give it credit for. And I did see somebody reference this as like, hey, this is like PlayStation Zelda, which I really felt today when I was doing one of the old world ruins to get one of the ornaments, which I still don't know what those do yet.
You'll find out.
Yeah, I'll find out. But yeah, I just, I also noticed that I'm not using the Valor Surge like at all. I forget that I have it. And then I'm like, oh right, it makes me invisible. I should use that. Or not like fully invisible, but like, I
Yeah,
can't be
you've
seen
got the like ultimate ability basically that takes a while to charge up, but then you do something super cool. But you have a ton of choices of what you want that super cool thing to be. Yeah, Lizzie forgets about that a lot. I mean, certainly I forget that it's a mechanic in the game because everything else is fun enough. And there were a couple times where she accidentally uses that in the middle of, or like at the end of a fight. And Aloy, it goes into this very cinematic thing, this kind of like God of War. And she did one where you like smash the ground and it puffs everybody back and knocks their shields out and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, didn't mean to do that. And it like goes into this whole cutscene, so you wait. And then she yells something and then smashes and there's nobody there. They're all dead. But you can't cancel it. But that's been a funny thing a couple times. But yeah, there's a whole lot to the combat. I watched Demo Duo play Horizon this week on their channel. And it sounds like I always call him Doppel. It's Doppelgamer? Carlos, help me out. It's Doppelgamer, right?
Yeah, technically it's Doppelgamer.
Okay, I only ever call him Doppel. Anyway, it sounds like he's been playing that game on the harder difficulty, so when he was watching Cram play the tutorial on easy, he's just like, oh, your attacks are actually killing these guys. Like, I thought that wasn't even an option until you upgraded it. And it's like, no. But that's nice to hear because it means when you do bump up the difficulty, you can get more juice out of it. Like if you like the combat, then the combat will last longer from a more difficult fight. But game seems
it's really good. It just
cool.
has that, and we'll talk about this too when we get to the open world stuff in our party topic. But it does have that thing of once you climb up one of those tall necks and scan the area, all of a sudden all these icons pop up all over the fucking map, and it is like, y'all, can you just like drip feed me some of this stuff instead of just like littering the map with like 1,000 things to do?
Dog, you're back in Night City, bro.
There's Chris, there's the one tall neck that you just got next to Plainsong. With other ones you find, maybe Lizzie would tell you something different, but I would almost recommend not going to the tall neck for that reason. Like later on, when you have opportunities to find them, to just like go do your own thing. Like if having too much of the map and too many icons on there is an issue, which I can completely relate with. Yeah, I would just skip the tall neck altogether unless you feel like you'd get a big benefit from it. Because Lizzie has like 100%ed Skyrim almost, and when I see her map with all the icons on it, I'm just like, that's a lot of stuff. I can't even see. This looks like my desktop, with icons just littered everywhere. It's too much. I can't handle it.
I will say that I'm not going to spoil anything here, but story-wise, I now have a base.
Okay.
And man, that is some shit. They really that mission specifically took a very long time, and the way the story kind of left turned a bit, I was like, whoa, okay. But now what's frustrating about that is like you sort of know of this grander thing that's happening. And so when all these tribes are like, our gods are brr, 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 you're like, shut the fuck up. None of this matters.
I got bigger problems.
We're just a tribe and we're trying to do our politics. You're like, shove it.
Especially with the urgency that quest suddenly gives you. Like they say like, there's a timer and the timer is this long. And I watched Lizzie play that and I was like, that seems like a really short timer. This seems like we got to get to work. Maybe no more side quests.
Hey, we have a few weeks, basically, and you're like, oh, okay, or a few months.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
is that
okay? Yeah, I know that it's a video game and it's not actually running down a timer and everything's gonna be lost if I don't do it right away. But I will say that like some of the politic and stuff that's happening as like go do this side quest. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not happening with what I just found out about.
Yeah.
I will say that mission I did earlier with the hippo. Speaking, Thomas, to you, like talking about how cool the tribes are individually. Like this guy, you meet him and he tells you that he like lost his daughter in the Red Raids, and he talks about like that tribe's like they all have seed pouches on them that are full of seeds, and what they're for is when you die, they are planted, and basically you come back as all of those. Trees or plants or what have you. So
yeah, and your seeds are unique, so they actually use that to like identify. Like if they find a seed pouch, they can be like, oh, this seed pouch belongs to someone in this family.
Yes,
because I think that's a really cool idea as far as like building the culture of this tribe.
Side quest, don't even have to do it. But yeah, it's really really good. I hope more people give it time and like actually play it, because I know so many people right now, I saw the numbers today of like 5 million or something like that have bought Elden Ring.
Yeah, the biggest game release since Red Dead 2.
Yeah, I would Elden Ring looks cool and all, but Horizon Forbidden West is very dope.
Yeah, you're not gonna get story in Elden Ring. So if story's what you're after, Horizon's got so much more to offer.
Yes, and it is extensive. Like they do a pretty good job of letting you know what's going on, like a recap at the beginning. But I even went back and watched like a story so far thing just to try to get myself caught back up. I will say that people come in and you're like, oh, that's an old friend of mine, and I'm like, are they? I don't remember them at all. And that wasn't in the story recap I watched. That kind of stuff, just like ancillary characters.
Yeah, there are a few times, somebody's like, actually, I probably know exactly who you're talking about. It's like, oh, I saw this person walking with this younger woman or something. And I was like, this seems like I'm supposed to know who this is. And then Lizzie goes, oh, I know exactly who that is. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
She's a hunter. And I was like, I don't remember her at all, but cool. Hooray, friends. Anyway,
hooray, friends. Cool
game rules. But we'll talk some more about open worlds a little bit later. So, Vilos, what have you been playing? What do you got for me?
Yes. So I got into a couple different things today. Last night, actually, I played through Far Lone Sails because the sequel, Changing Tides, just released on Game Pass just a couple days ago. or Thursday, whatever. Time is a construct. But
Well,
Far Lone Sales is very unique and very cool. I really highly suggest grabbing it. It's $3 right now on Steam and on the Switch eShop.
damn.
Yeah, it's a 3 to maximum 4 hour experience. It's really a one playthrough sort of thing. You can obviously replay it if you really wanted to, but there's not a lot to get out of that. But you're a character there's technically no dialogue or text anywhere besides this one radio that you find at one point that occasionally has some words in it. But you're in this incredible apocalyptic style landscape um, that was clearly Earth at some point, even though your character is like kind of a humanoid. You don't really know anything about the world. You're not presented with anything. You start off at this little gravestone, and you just have to start a journey. And it's a very isolated experience. You go into your little house right at the beginning. You find a couple things there that you can take with you if you want to, because you're just dropping yourself into this weird ass, basically gigantic pod racer looking ship.
Yeah.
And you're to travel across this incredibly atmospheric landscape, just literally from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. And it's God knows how many miles. Like I said, the experience is maximum 3.5 4 hours. I think I put 3:15 into it, and that was with making a couple mistakes. There's almost no failure in this game. It's really at its heart, it's a puzzle game. Just a very atmospheric puzzle game. You basically have to control this ship, kind of like you would Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, sort of.
That's what I was getting vibes of. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to grab these little containers of energy and throw them in this certain part of the ship that burns it, and it produces your fuel. And with a few upgrades, including a gigantic sail, you come into these different areas. You're basically stopped multiple times throughout the game to fix something or to upgrade something on your ship in order to pass this new barrier, and that's it. The finale of the game I would love to spoil just because it's just wicked. And it was the only point in the game that I actually failed because I was like, well, shit. Like, how do you do this? Let me just say it's a natural disaster, and in theory, playing through the whole game, you're like, there's no way I'm fast enough to get away from this. And I was not the first 3 times I tried it. It's really cool though. The ending is wild. So I'm really intrigued by what the new game's gonna do. Sorry if you could hear the sirens.
Coming for you. You
the
thought
new
you
game,
thought you could
though,
outrun them, but you couldn't.
yeah.
But let me tell you,
new
the
game,
upcoming ending is wicked.
oh my god!
Watch
it
Carlos
is.
get busted on stream.
For absolutely nothing. Yes. The new game has some really cool little things in it. Apparently, you actually can move underwater, and the ship just has extra upgrades, and it's a completely new world. When, like I said, this one was very atmospheric, very drab, very gray, very rainy, very dark. Had a lot of really cool moments though. It definitely gives you inside or limbo vibes at different times. But I just highly recommend it. It's a very unique game, very quick, and it's really a kind of soothing, isolated adventure for yourself.
Nice.
Because sometimes you just got to be introspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, so in case you
yeah.
didn't already say this, because I've got to pull it up, Far Lone Sales was developed by Okomotive and
Yes.
published by Mixed
Vision.
Mixed Vision. Okay, I just couldn't come up with that. Mixed Vision game.
Which actually, holy shit, I totally forgot that Mixed Vision actually made Minute of Islands, which we played, and then A Juggler's Tale, which we wanted to play.
Mhm.
Yeah. I tried Juggler's Tale. It was I'm good.
More like Struggler's Tale. Ha, got him.
Hey.
But yeah, they're all about those highly unique single player things, which it still surprises me that there's a sequel to this. But
Yeah, they're like a
really
studio. They're a publisher that like focuses on like Annapurna type things.
Mhm.
Like they, artsy is their vibe. So
yeah, and this one was it to a T. So the next thing that I played was actually today. They announced the Kirby the Kirby and the Forgotten Lands demo, and I played it right before the pod. I am one level away from completing it. There's a little boss level I need to complete, but yeah, it's gonna be good. I'll definitely talk about it more in the party topic. But the cool thing is that it is gorgeous. It is definitely matching the Mario Odyssey style visuals to a T. It's really pretty. Um, and it's not really doing a whole lot different than any other Kirby before. You're still just using different abilities and sucking things up. That's the name of the game.
That's how you do.
Mouthful mode. Mouthful mode is going to be the best meme of 2022. Just gonna say that right now. Um, and in that little demo, you actually get through what pretty much everything that was in the announcement trailer. All the different the mouthful cone ability, the mouthful what did they call that one? The mouthful vendor, where you're the freaking soda machine spitting out sodas. You do get to do the mouthful car in the demo, so if you're wanting to do that really bad, then just download it. It's so funny. Um, and the demo is actually co-op, so you can play with friends. So definitely you should check that out. It's coming out in a few weeks, so real excited about that.
Kirby
It's
rules.
yeah, he really does. It's funny though, just because I don't remember the last time I actually paid full price for a Kirby game, and I technically wouldn't want to because there's such an easy thing to blaze through. Like
Yeah.
every single Kirby game is just a cakewalk.
Yeah.
I do love them, but they're so simple. And playing the demo, there's actually two modes. I think it was Wild mode was the one that I played, and that was the one that's the difficult one. And then the other mode is the bitch ass baby mode, as they say. I forget what they called it officially, but it's like for those of you that are not used to action games. So, and I'm like, action though? Okay, okay. Um, so it's very funny. I would love to get it day one, but I just don't know. Like the Yoshi game was very similar. Yoshi on Switch was just like incredible. It's absolutely beautiful, adorable platforming, very very soothing, just extremely satisfying to play.
Mhm.
But I did not buy that day one. I never planned to buy that on day one, so we'll see about Kirby.
We'll see about
But
Kirby.
definitely next week though, I'm only going to be talking about Triangle Strategy. I'm quite sure. So we'll see how that goes. That comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's crazy that comes out tomorrow. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
We're getting games right now where it's just like, oh, that's really far away. Oh, nope, it's here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the reviews for Triangle Strategy so far, 50 hours is the least I've heard of so far
50 hours?
for a review playthrough. So that's not a completionist playthrough. That's a review playthrough. And speaking of, like the completionist YouTube creator, he had Forbidden West a full month before release, and there were bugs that prevented him from getting the official completion percentage of 100%. And so
Wow.
the Triangle Strategy uh, content creators have had it for about a week, I think, like maximum 10 days. So 50 hours in that time span is a lot to get through.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
That's
lot.
just pounding it down.
Well, we'll get to this when we talk about Elden Ring, but a bunch of those reviewers were basically like they got to a certain point in the game and they're like, "Yeah, I'm not beating this for review." It's not
Yeah, they're like out of breath. They're like, I can't. And you're trying to have fun with it, right? Like you're trying to enjoy it. If you're getting paid, your job is to review these games, and you're like, I want to love this, but I have to just bite the bullet and try to get through it as fast as I can.
Like I think if I had to like mainline Horizon just to get through it, I think I would be having a worse time with it.
Oh, for sure.
You know, I just don't think it'd be fun.
Well, you can't really play it on your own terms, you know, which makes it tough. But
exactly, and I think Gerard, the completionist, I think he said he had somewhere around 105 to 110 hours, and then still didn't get the completion percentage to show up. So he was like ultra pissed.
I'm out
about that because that was like his entire point of having it. But you know, we all have to remember that bugs are going to be a thing, especially days before release. So. It is what it is now.
Man. Yeah, it is what it is.
So speaking of long games and open world games, Thomas.
Let's talk about Elden Ring.
What is this game? I've never heard of this.
This is a game that 1 week ago I said I am absolutely not going to buy this game. That's what that is. On the last pod, we said, is anybody going to pick up Elden Ring?
Me and Sav are like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, and all of us are like, no way. And then 2 days later, I think, did I buy it on Saturday? Yeah, I bought it on Saturday.
Something like that, yeah.
And because like I watched people play on Thursday night after the pod, I watched them play Friday, and then Saturday morning I woke up and I'm like, I'm about to buy this game. But I'm not sure. Like first, I think I have to buy a hard drive because I don't have enough space on my computer. Turns out the game's only 40 gigs, much smaller than I thought it was going to be. So I had enough room, downloaded that bad boy after I played Power Wash Simulator for brunch, which was a good time. What I have to say about that game is it's good. But yeah, I booted up Elden Ring. And so I have a whole lot to say on this, so I wrote everything down so I can try to stay on track. I'm going to tell you guys why I love it. I love this game. It's all I've been thinking about all week. But I'm going to tell you some like real problems with it that are mostly like there's some design problems and this and that. And then I'll tell you about the ugly, which is get crashes and all this other stuff, and also my frustration with the 10 out of 10 reviews that this game has gotten all over the place. And kind of a little bit of that. I'm not going to try to go on a whole rant about that, but I picked this game up because I liked what I saw about it when I watched people on Twitch. The reviews all over the place, like I said, are 10 out of 10. So I boot this game up, and I played Dark Souls 1. It's the only other Dark Souls I've played. I've probably played about 2/3 of the way through it. The difficulty was never my real struggle with it. It's that I played Dark Souls 1 like 8 years after it came out, and it played like a game that came out 8 years before. It's a video game where all sorts of things happen where you're like, oh, there's no immersion here. This is the most video game bullshit of things. Like trying to jump on a ledge, but there's like an invisible curvature to it, so you can't actually land on the ledge. The game scoots you off the cliff, and you just fall, right? Stuff like that where it's just like, oh, right, it's a video game. Like, video games do this stuff. But I'll save the other stuff for later. I'm loving this game because you create your character, you get out into this open world, and you could just go anywhere. And so the game starts up, and you find your first bonfire. Oh, well, first of all, if you told me this was Dark Souls 4, I would have no reason to dispute it. After I played and watched for a little while, Lizzie asked me, she goes, so what's the difference between this and the actual Dark Souls games? And I just said there isn't one. There's no difference at all. I've read that they're supposed to, like, people say the story is different. And I'm like, what story? They're not telling the story the same way they never told the story in the other ones. But the combat, the UI, everything's the same. They just have different names for stuff. But to go along with the amazing combat it has, where like when you die, generally it feels like your fault. You definitely you're like, that was bullshit. But you usually died because you didn't expect something, or you tried to attack too many times when you should have just relaxed and, had patience. Instead of, like me, I keep failing the one boss that gates part of the content of the game, because no matter how many times I know I should not attack 3 times, I should only attack twice, I just always attack 3 times and then I die. I've done it like 20 times in a row. So every time I'm like, this is a totally beatable boss. I just need to use what I've learned and actually do it, But the combat feels great. Yeah. You can summon your pals to join you. A lot of people have called for an easy mode for games like this for accessibility's sake. After spending more time thinking about that, I don't think this game needs... It would do the game a disservice if there was an easy mode for this. But the closest thing you can get is summoning your friends. When you summon your friends, everything is so much easier. There are bosses that I didn't even attempt on my own, but then, I shared a clip the other day, the 3 of us running in and fighting this Beastman boss that gave some other people some trouble. We beat him so badly, he didn't even get an attack off on us. Like, we just whooped this dude.
You had him pinned in the corner.
Yeah. So if you've ever wanted a Souls game with an easy mode, this is it. This is the one. You've got that. Magic exists in this game, where in the other games it was esoteric enough that unless you had already beaten the game, then making a character to use magic as their primary attack was impossible. It couldn't happen. I'm not going to get into why that was so difficult, but the game wasn't made for that. In this game, it's totally possible, and they give you spells and stuff right out of the gate. In the other game, you have to search for hours to find like a spell. So in this one, it's nice that they have all sorts of different types of magic. Even though they don't tell you how to level up your character at all, you kind of learn as you play. You're like, oh, I upgraded this thing, and I see the difference between, how strong I was before, or now I can equip this weapon and it doesn't suck. At the beginning of the game, you'll find weapons that require a lot of strength or dexterity, but you need to level up your character before you can properly use them. Otherwise, you can still equip them. You might have to use them in both hands to swing them properly. A great sword I found. If I hold it in one hand, it's like if I in real life tried to swing a 2-handed weapon with one hand. You're just like, oh, you're just lumbering around with this thing. But tons of weapons, tons of spells. Anytime you find an area that you don't want to beat your head against the wall in, you can just leave. The world is so damn gigantic that you can just pick a direction and walk, and you're going to find new enemies. You're going to find cool, beautiful things to look at. New things that look a little bit out of reach. The game is very vertical, and that means there are a lot of times where you're like, can I go down there? Should I go down there? And then you'll read like a player message that says, try jumping, and then you jump down there and die. You realize that it was a trick. That someone else out in the world knew that you were going to follow that advice and jump off. At the very beginning of the game, Steve, who we played with, he was in the clip that I was talking about with that boss. He either hasn't played a Souls game before, or it's been a long time. He booted up the game. You spawn in like a cathedral, and you walk out front, and there's like a walk plank looking thing. And in front of it, he saw the same message I saw, and it said, try jumping. And he was like, really? Okay. And just jumped and he died. He died right there. His first death wasn't even against an enemy. It was because of the other players. And that was too funny when he said he did that. Russ is like, that's the oldest trick in the book.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
My biggest thing with like possibly trying this game is just, I know how obtuse it is, and I'm just like, I don't know that that's at all what I want to be doing with my time. I tried out, like the Surge and those ones, but it's like, that is like very tutorialized of like, you do this, and this is how you counter, and this is how you do this, and this is how you do that. And even Neo's like that, right? It like gives you like a tutorial of like how to play. But
this game barely has that. It technically has that.
Exactly. Yes.
But so much of us learning has been us in Discord chat just being like, hey, did you know if you're two-handing a weapon and you hit the parry button, that it'll actually do a special ability for that weapon. Like, oh no, okay. The game doesn't really tell you how to do that.
Just the simple fact that you can have everything you need to be a higher level and just a better player, and then not do that thing though, that's an issue.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I just literally spent 3 hours failing so hard when I could have, gotten to the next area or whatever.
We watched Suspects play. I watched Suspects play Thursday night last week. And he played for like 3 hours, and then he was watching my stream on Saturday, and I had skipped the first vendor. Like, I just didn't even see he was there because I was talking to Twitch chat, and I was not paying attention. And Russ or somebody was like, hey, go back there. There's like definitely something you want to look at. So I was like, oh, okay. And I see it's this vendor with all the stuff. So he has a crafting kit that you can buy. So you can make stuff now. Well, Suspects is in chat, and he's like, yo, I've been playing for 3 hours. I had no idea you could craft items in this game. Because, like, you're supposed to just, like, see the NPC, but he's totally easy to miss. Like, if you know what you're looking for, then you're definitely going to see him. But, yeah, there's plenty of stuff like that where it's just like, wait a minute. What? Could you hold my hand just a teeny bit for this part? Because there's, like, the combat's hard. I have no problem with the combat. The combat's pretty clean for the most part. I don't have an issue with how difficult the game is. My issue is when there's stuff like, I am a player. I am seeing my character with a UI on a computer screen. Up underneath my health bar, there's some sort of icon, a debuff or a buff, I don't know. But there is no way for me to tell what that buff or debuff is. So I'm like, the combat's hard enough. What's the point of not allowing me to see what the debuffs are? Why even show me that I have a debuff if I have no way of seeing what the debuff is? Like, it completely, as if this game had any immersion, it completely breaks it. But it's just like, I would rather you either like gave me like a riddle or something that says like, oh, you feel fatigued or something, or something doesn't seem right or something. That's what Project Zomboid does. It might not tell you exactly what's causing your problem, but it'll give you a vague idea of like what your character is supposed to feel as a result of whatever the debuff is. So there's stuff like that where I'm like, can you just give me a little more information? Like, you're giving me enough to feel like you just forgot to finish this. Like, you forgot to, when I played the first like hour of that game, I said the statement that this game needed to be put back in the oven like 10 times. Where I was like, that seems busted. This seems busted. Like the first boss you fight that you're like supposed to die to. As soon as I died in the normal game, your health bar goes to 0, and your character like falls to his knees or her knees, and disappears into ash, and it says you died. But for the first fight, the second my health bar went down, my screen just cut to black, and then I couldn't tell if it was supposed to happen or if my game had crashed. And then suddenly there's a cutscene somewhere else, and then I just like wake up in a cave. There was no like, there was no fade to black or anything. It felt like it was broken. And there were a bunch of times at the beginning of the game where I was just like, is this glitched? Or is it just supposed to feel broken? Like, was it designed to feel like this? And that stuff did not feel good. There's some stuff with the dialogue and with the writing that it feels like it was translated into English at the last minute. And that stuff's frustrating. Because I'm just like, guys, you've had all this time to make this game. I've told you, my biggest pet peeve in a game is when I can't tell if they made it some way on accident or on purpose. And I kept having that happen at the beginning of the game. So that was frustrating. I've had a zillion crashes. There's one specific area on the map that I can't go because my game consistently crashes. There are tons of connection issues. So when we do try to play co-op, I'll just get kicked for connection error, which is frustrating. We don't lose anything. Like, if I get kicked, I don't lose any of my souls, my currency. I don't lose anything else. But it's just a real pain. And we can reconnect, but just a lot of stability issues. There are blood stains in this game where you can see where other players died. You can touch the blood stain and see the last like 5 seconds of their life. So it's pretty funny to watch people when you know that they've died on horseback because they tried to jump somewhere. But you get to see their last 5 seconds of failure where you're like, oh, I bet you're about to try to jump to that thing. Woo! And they just totally whiff it. So there's stuff like that that can be fixed. I mean, eventually they'll patch it. I was surprised NVIDIA didn't seem to release a driver package for this game. Also surprising, I was able to run Elden Ring while streaming on OBS and streaming to Discord at 720p without topping out my computer, like on medium settings, which I couldn't even play Halo Infinite at all on minimum settings on stream without crashing OBS. So some of that stuff has been surprising. It actually runs better at higher settings than it does at lower. When I set the lower settings down, it gets all framey, and I'm like, that's not how this is supposed to work.
Right.
Lucky.
But yeah, I'll talk about my favorite parts of this in the open world segment, but the fact that I can just choose my own direction, and if I feel frustrated, I can just leave and go find somewhere else that's cool and do. That feels really good. You've got a horse that you can run around on. They've never had a horse in any of these games. You can recruit your friends. Even if you don't want to play multiplayer, you can summon spirit companions that are pretty dope in single player, and some other stuff. So they have made the game a lot more accessible. It's easily the most accessible game From Software has ever made. It's the first one that I've ever loved, and I'm excited to be able to enjoy something like this. But we've had a few people in chat who have been watching, and they're like, damn, I've been playing this game for 20, 30 hours already, and I haven't even seen the area that you're in. And I've experienced that a lot too. Watching other streamers, I'm just like, damn, this doesn't look like anywhere that I've been to. And and that's nice. It's a big-ass world. It's just a huge world with tons of hidden areas and bosses and collectibles. And so that stuff's good.
So you say you love this game. So what's your beef with people giving it a 10?
Okay, my beef is that... actually, let me talk about this difficulty part, because whenever these Souls games come out, it's all about accessibility in the game, right? And accessibility means a lot to different people, but on that first night that I watched people play, I watched Suspects 101, and I watched Mike the Quad. And Mike the Quad plays on the Microsoft Adaptive Controller. We've talked about him in the past on the podcast.
Yeah.
I was watching him play Elden Ring, and he was kicking ass. And like, if he's able to play this game and enjoy it and do, equally as well or poorly as everyone else, then I would say that this game is accessible. So, playing the game, I like that it only has one difficulty, which means, like, everything is overcomable. Like, anything is achievable. You just need to find the right way to do it. Like, it's all about a learning process. In this one, you can run away, level up and gear up and find stuff that's going to help you, and then come back, which is what I've been doing. Because I'm bad at the boss fights. I am not good against the big bosses. I'm much better against the small enemies. So the fact that I can go grind or just explore and then come back and be stronger is nice. In the previous games, you couldn't just leave and come back. Like, you didn't have a choice. You either had to beat this boss right now or give up. There wasn't an option. So I read this great article in the New Yorker that is by Simon Parkin. He got an interview with Miyazaki, the creator of the Dark Souls series, Hidetaka Miyazaki. And I loved some of the quotes that he pulled from this. So Miyazaki, when asked about the difficulty, he says, for every vanquisher, or let's see, the author writes, for every vanquisher of Miyazaki's monsters, there's another one who glumly sets down his controller. And Miyazaki says, I do feel apologetic toward anyone who feels there's just too much to overcome in my games. He held his head at his hands and smiled and said, I just want as many players as possible to experience the joy that comes from overcoming hardship. And these games really are, he says it later, it's that they are... we're always looking for ways to improve, but in our games specifically, hardship is what gives meaning to the experience. So it's not something we're willing to abandon at the moment. It's our identity. So that's to answer people calling for, an easy mode or a more accessible mode for this game. That's not going to happen because this is a game specifically built on problems that are solvable. You just need patience. You just need, pattern recognition. For me, I told you, I keep getting my ass kicked by that one boss, and I know exactly what I need to do better. I just need to do it. Because, I just keep making the same mistakes. So it's kind of funny to just see myself repeat the same thing and say, this time will be different, even though I haven't changed anything I'm doing.
In the same exact thing, yeah.
Right. So I really like that. The idea that hardship is what gives meaning to the experience is crucial to what this game is offering. So in that respect, I'm glad that there's finally a Souls game that I can enjoy, because the difficulty has never been my problem personally. Before it was other stuff like in this game. Actually, this is massive. You can fast travel. So if you're just like fed up with something, you just leave right now. In Dark Souls 1, if you were in a place you didn't like, you had to backtrack all the way back to where you came, which means you have to battle through every monster you fought to get there. And then you're at the starting area. So you haven't even begun your journey to wherever you're trying to go. You spent all that effort just trying to leave the place you were at. So being able to fast travel is a massive improvement. It's those quality of life things that I can feel. Well, the game is still like brutally challenging. It feels like it wants me to have fun this time. I did not in the other games feel like the game wanted me to have fun. Other people would say differently, but yeah, I'm finally on board for a Souls game. I'm excited to finally like one of these. I mean, the past week, and I remember waking up Sunday morning, and I couldn't wait to play more. Like, I just couldn't wait to get back in and see who was online and summon each other to each other's worlds and go kick some ass. But yeah, Elden Ring's a big up for me. The 10 out of 10 struggle is that when people say it's a 10 out of 10 game, I think at the very, very best this game is a 9 out of 10. I think when you just slap a number like that onto stuff, like I have two different friends. I was like, yo, you bought this game? That's very surprising. I didn't think you liked games like this. And one of them was like, oh, I returned it within 2 hours. I didn't realize it was going to be so hard.
Wow.
And I don't blame them. Because 10 out of 10 reviews and saying like, this is the most accessible one in the series still doesn't tell you what the series is. And plastering 10 out of 10s everywhere, I think, is counterproductive to a lot of people actually enjoying the game, because they don't know enough about what to expect to be in a position.
I don't think just because somebody puts a 10 out of 10 on a game that means that people need to go out and buy it immediately. Like,
totally.
That's
but it's that, problem. And it's like when I saw people reviewing this game, because of all the crashes and the video game shit, where it was just like I told you, it seemed like stuff just wasn't fully cooked. There was a lot of those first few hours where I was like, I'm having a really, really fun time. I am really enjoying this, especially with my friends, because the co-op just makes that game pop. But I was like, a 10 out of 10, it feels like they're playing a different version of this game that's much smoother and much more polished. And I just found that frustrating, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, is everybody who gave this a 10 out of 10 just somebody who was chomping at the bit for another Souls game, and then they got it, and it was a good one, so they put a 10 on it. Just seemed like
let's pull an example out, okay? So let's say Timur Hussein from GameSpot, who gave it a 10 out of 10, in progress, review in progress.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason it is getting a 10 out of 10 is the wonder and the discovery of things and how those pay off for you further down in the game.
Even at the beginning, that's the best part of the game. It's super
right,
dope.
Exactly. And so if let's say that Dark Souls 3 is a 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is just cranking everything up to 11, bigger world, bigger stuff, more wonder. That is a 10 in like anybody who loves those games' eyes. Like, that's like, I mean, do I think that Breath of the Wild is a 10 out of 10 game? No, I don't personally, but I get why it got 10s, you know? Like, I don't think and like for like you were saying, like the consumers that are like going out and grabbing it because it's a 10 out of 10, like, know what the fuck you're buying. Like, I don't know anyone who just buys something randomly and has no idea what it is. Like,
that's true, yeah.
I still don't understand that. I don't understand. I run into this problem with ticket sales for events. People go, oh, well, I didn't realize that blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, then why the fuck did you buy the ticket?
See, you do run into it.
Why would you buy it?
You just don't know the people that are going to do that dumb shit.
Yes. It's like, why would you go, oh, I don't know what this is. Well, I'm just going to buy it.
It got good reviews, so I'm just going to go. Yeah.
I mean, there are people that are legitimately people that buy one game a year, and they're spinning that shit right now in Elden Ring and getting taught the ways of why they are
If you actually
making
read
some
the
errors.
review or listened to the review, you would know what it is instead of just looking at the number and going, "Oh, well, I guess I got to buy it."
Yeah.
It's like, what are you guys? What are you
And
talking about?
like literally every review is like, "Bitch, if you didn't already like Dark Souls, you're not gonna like this."
Hey, but I'm one of these people who I played Dark Souls 1 and I thought it was fine. I think, Joystick said Dark Souls 1 is the greatest video game of all time. I sure don't know about that. Boy. But, it's very influential, and the people who like those games love those games. But, I mean, this is the first time I've jumped on one and been excited to play it. With Dark Souls 1, for the most part, I just wanted to beat it to see what people liked about it so much. And I only got 2/3 of the way through, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I saw what I needed to see. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to be able to enjoy this. It's definitely the best Souls game that there is. For me, I mean, it's still like an 8 or maybe even a 9 out of 10 for me. So it's like super good. It's very, very good. It's some of the most fun I've had playing a game that has both single player and multiplayer elements in it. And I think they're both equally good. The co-op is what made me stick with it. But now I'm having a lot of fun running around on my own too. I will say for anybody who's buying the game itself and everywhere on the internet will tell you that you can have a party of 4 people. That is not correct. The game says, and I quote, "You can have a party of 4." What it doesn't tell you is that you can only have 3 allies and you can summon 1 person as an enemy to fight against. That is not a party of people. That is 3 people and an enemy. So it's a real pain in the ass. We spent almost an hour trying to figure out why we couldn't summon all 4 of us, because we got 4 of us online in the same area to play. You can only summon 3. So let me save you some hassle.
It took forever to figure that out.
Yeah, because the game doesn't tell you. It says party of 4. Dude, that was very frustrating. And it's exactly that where I'm just like, was this just translated wrong or something? And why did the reviewers online, like 4 different websites, all said party of 4 people? And I finally found one that was like, oh, you can do this. So anyway, so yeah, so that's a thing. For anybody who is buying Elden Ring or is already playing it, you can put in multiplayer codes. There's one that you can use to like summon other people to your group. But there are also 5 message codes that you can put in. And so what those are designed to do is connect you with a community of players. Anyone else who has the same code that you do in that message area, you're very, very likely to see each other's messages and phantoms and other in-game interactions. So we're doing that. We use party123, party with capital P, as our code. So if you want to jump in on that, and you'll be able to see anyone else's messages and all that stuff, which is fun to try to either help or hinder each other. You'll be able to do that. But I definitely recommend playing this game with your friends, but you could totally play it on your own. And grouping up with strangers is pretty good as well. Being in Discord and voice chat is top tier, but getting other players' help to defeat bosses is good too. I was in the Mad Bombers chat a couple days ago, and I was like, hey, you should put in this code party123. Well, I forgot that is how you donate bits on Twitch. Typing in Yep, party123 donated 123 bits to him. I was like, oh, I just donated money. So, oops.
I'm trying to type it in and realizing that.
yeah, I did the same thing.
No.
So that's Elden Ring. I like it a whole lot. I'm excited to play it a whole lot more. If you ever saw a Dark Souls game and you really wanted a challenge, this is it. It's the good stuff.
Are you guys wanting to just transition right into this party topic since we're already here?
Give me like 1 minute. I'm actually going to pull up a couple more open world trailers to play while we're talking.
Okay.
I've got Elden Ring. I got Breath of the Wild. I'm going to do Halo Infinite campaign. And anything else we have in the dock. So yeah, just give me just a minute here. But otherwise, I'll be good to go. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He said it's criminal that Elden Ring and Horizon would come out within weeks of Pokemon Arceus. All just boom, boom, boom. He's like, what am I supposed to spend 150 hours in these games? Like, what do you want from me?
Bro, so I eclipsed Sovereign's hours. What? I am over 100 now. So
wow.
Yeah. Although Arceus is really good, it's actually worth getting to that point as far as the post-game content. So
yeah, I mean,
very fun.
I like seeing you and Doppel still chatting about that in Discord. There, it's me looking through the bushes, being like, "How's it going in here?" Without having to be on like Pokemon Twitter, Oh, here we go. This is what I need. Okay, then I am pretty much ready to go. Oh, you know what? Because I was so busy talking, I don't even think I played a single trailer for Elden Ring. That's okay.
You didn't.
Lol.
But you can do it for this next one.
I sure will. All right. Then let's jump back into it. Oh, actually, hold on. Let me change the text so if anybody scrubs forward, they'll be able to see this. This is our party topic. Open worlds.
Carlos, you want to lead us into this party topic?
Yes, I can do that. All right.
All right, I am ready when you are then.
Cool. All right, so it is time for our party topic, and this week we have a big discussion over open world games. With the early 2020s, we kind of saw the trendsetters in the Far Cry and Assassin's Creed series kind of dwindle in popularity, and people kind of got burnt out on open world. But now, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
Like
everything is open world.
We have so many things that we're going to talk about, but I mean, just all the games in 2022. I mean, it started late 2021 with Halo Infinite. Getting back into the feel of things in these open worlds, but
dude, I didn't know Halo Infinite was an open world basically until the day it came out. Like,
oh my god,
because until Halo Infinite was like, we're coming out on Game Pass, I was like, I'm not buying that game. Like, I'm not paying $60 for a game that I'm probably not going to play that much of. And you might notice this is a trend of mine. When my friends get excited about stuff, suddenly I am excited about stuff. But the campaign's not something I've actually played. I've only done the multiplayer. So Carlos, I'll be interested to hear what you have to say about that. But yeah, that was like totally unexpected for me.
Yeah, and Halo really brought it. They did the thing that a lot of people had wanted for quite a long time, I feel like, and that is letting us rule battlefields in different areas. I feel like the only thing that was missing was the fact that we didn't. It was talked about quite a bit, but we didn't get different. What's the word? The different literal like land masses, different regions. Snowy areas and shit like that, which
one space,
which was really something that was done in the first couple Halos, especially Halo 1. I mean, you're on one ring. Why the hell can't we just transfer through these different environments like we did back then?
Right. The in Halo 1, the snowy levels that you mentioned, Assault on the Control Room and then Two Betrayals.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite levels in that game because the worlds were big enough. You really felt like you were exploring. And in a few cases, you could actually approach situations in a couple different ways because the map was just so massive. You could decide, I want to go from that direction. And then the next time you play, you say, I'm going to go through the front door over here instead. But yeah, I was surprised when I watched people's playthroughs of that I just expected another snowy biome. That was the first thing I expected.
Yeah. And it's not to say, because I'm not one of those people that ever really get bored with anything. But for a lot of players of Halo Infinite's campaign, it was boring. For me, it definitely had such a good feel of something like Just Cause, which I fucking love the Just Cause series. completed the first 2.5 games. Because it's all about taking back what's yours, taking back all these different territories and stuff like that.
And
And
why are
I
you doing
felt
it?
that was a
Just
big
'cause.
enough section. And exactly, Halo has a little bit more reason, but not too much more. That said, they did bring out the special targets that you could take out, which was a cool idea. Not really as great in execution because the whole point was that you do get by taking out these targets, you do get their specialty weapon, which in some cases was really legit. Like there was, I think there was a plasma rifle. I think it was a plasma rifle that was just like incredibly fast, and it felt like 3 times more powerful than any plasma rifle's ever been in the Halo series. And you're like, you know what? Yes, I'm just gonna come out of my little my spot over here, my spawn, and I'm gonna grab that gun. I'm gonna get in a warthog, and I'm just gonna wreck some shit. And that was kind of the point. Um, of course, later into the game, you are seeing a couple different environments, but not a whole lot of different things besides Forerunner hallways, which we have come to expect.
Yep.
But you do find that your later targets you just didn't have the motivation after going through these story segments. You didn't really have the motivation to just get out there and kill those guys because it didn't matter in the long run. You didn't have to take out these targets to progress anything in the narrative. Um, and really, the different weapons didn't mean enough simply because you could still just go back to your base anytime. You had the fast travel capabilities. You could go anywhere to do anything. And the quickest and safest option was just always available to you. You didn't have to take out those extra targets. So,
Yeah, I'd say so I guess in Halo, like people were kind of bummed about the lack of things to the side missions were not what they expected them to be. It's kind of what I thought it would be. It'd be like you're clearing out bases and you're doing the story missions. That's kind of what like random encounters, some kind of out there, but nothing. There's not going to be like really cool side quests or anything for a Halo game. And also, I don't go to Halo to play story stuff. I go to play multiplayer. So that kind of wasn't on my radar. But like something that like has been kind of eating away at me while I've been playing Horizon and stuff is you always like in these games that are open world RPG, they give you so much to do, right? And some of those things are great, like the way it's done in Horizon, like at least those side quests, it blurs the lines of is this a side quest or is this a main mission? And they do a really good job of like handling that stuff in that game. But like let's take like a Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example. First couple hours of playing that game, I was like, this is really cool. Oh wait, I can't go do this thing because it's locked behind a level cap. Okay, well I'll come back later, I guess. That game is too big. All the Assassin's Creed open world games, there's too much going on. It's too big. There's too many mechanics all layered on top of each other that don't work well together. Like you're like, oh hey, I need to go clear out this base. Oh, I'm clearing out this base. Oh, guess what? An assassin got called because I was kicking too much ass. And then there's 3 of these like assassin people like just surrounding that base that you need to get to, and it's like you're doing too much. You scale it back a bit. And there's something also with that is like I remember like going, okay, well I need to go do the story mission, and they're like, nope, you can't do that because it's locked behind a level cap, and it's like, okay. But I really don't want to do any of these side quests. Like, I don't give a shit about hunting this boar. Like, just let me fucking go do the story. And like, it does in Horizon, like, kind of tell you, like, hey, you need to be at this level to go do this thing. Right now, I could go do the story mission if I want, but I want to, like, build myself up a little bit more. At least give me the options of, like, mainlining this thing. Or, like, it just, like, they're like, in Assassin's Creed, they're like, nope, you got to do it all. It's like, no, it's impossible. Like, I know somewhere somebody has 100%ed Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That person is a crazy person. But, and like the same with like Valhalla. Like, everybody was talking about Valhalla and they're like, it's just too big. It's too long. Like I thought I was almost done, and I'm not even close. I feel like they can get a little too, and this is a Ubisoft thing, right? So like when things sort of died off for a second, it was because Ubisoft was cranking these things out. Like Far Cry 3, everybody's like, "Ooh, this is fantastic." Then we get Far Cry 4, Far Cry 5, and we're just kind of like, "All right, guys."
Yeah, and I mean, in that particular case, it was specifically after 3 that they literally were just copy pasting the map with new shit on top of it. So it's like, all right, guys, that you're literally like showing your full ass. You're telling us, this isn't really going to be that different. And for all intents and purposes, I mean,
and stuff in the Assassin's Creed stuff, they're like, oh, you can have relationships with these people. It's like, okay, but how does that change what's happening? It doesn't. Like it really, like you can recruit people to your ship and sleep with all of them, but that changes nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's just there for you to just do shit. Now, and like a game that's like considered like a classic, right? A 10 out of 10, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Every single one of those things that you go out and do and there's an icon on there, it's there for a reason. Maybe there's a really good side quest there. Maybe there's treasure you can get and now you have cooler equipment. I just wish, I know that like a lot of part of the stuff in these games is question marks and you have to go figure out what that stuff is. But so many times when you get to that question mark, you're like, oh shit, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do any of this. Like, that once it finally reveals yourself, at least with something in Horizon I've noticed is they have people that tell you rumors, right? So if you go and sit down and talk to them, they will go, oh, there's been some raiders up by the blah, blah, blah. And so now that question mark is filled in. And it's like, that's what that is. So you don't have to just run over there and find out. You know what it is now.
And from an immersion standpoint or a role-playing standpoint, why would you know? Why was there a question mark there? Like from the standpoint of your character, why would you be like, oh boy, I really need to go to that path up there and see if there's something mysterious? What is that?
But I like the fact that at least the rumor telling, like, it'll illuminate those before you have to just go figure it out for yourself. So you can know, oh, do I want to even spend my time to go over there?
Totally. Well, we mentioned earlier
that game does not respect your time at all.
Which game?
Assassins. It does not respect your
time. That's the impression I've gotten too.
No, it does not.
Yeah. I mean, they're fun and fine for a while, but like, if they announce another one, I'm gonna be like, cool. Well, not gonna touch it.
I mean, that DLC for the new one looks cool because it doesn't look like the rest of the Assassin's Creed game.
It's because it's completely different.
Yeah, it looks like Shadow of Mordor. Which and I can play that DLC the moment I boot up the game. I don't have to complete the story and then start the DLC or anything like that. Which would be troublesome. To talk about like quest markers and stuff. Open worlds are interesting in that, one open world will have tons of icons. It'll say go over there and figure it out, and then other games will be very sparse on what they allow you to see out there in the world. Right? I feel like Red Dead Redemption, if I'm remembering it correctly, really doesn't have a lot of icons on like the map. You can really only see stuff when you're riding around. And even then, I feel like you have to be like relatively close to something for it to pop up and tell you like, hey, something, there's a mine over there or something. In that game,
handwritten on your map or like drawn on your map or something.
Yeah, it'll fill in the map a little bit. And it's always nice to be like, oh, there's a trail of smoke up there. I'm gonna go over there because I see a trail of smoke. I like that stuff where the storytelling is happening as you play. Like, you went over to investigate because of the campfire trail, not because there was an icon on your compass that you magically saw because it's a video game, and then you went over and investigated it. I'm not saying every open world game needs to be like immersive or anything, but I find it overwhelming to just see a ton of icons on my map all the time, whether it's my map or my compass.
Yeah.
And I wish more games had the option to actually turn off the compass icons, Because sometimes I'm like, yo, like I only care about the one thing that I marked. I don't want everything else. If I do want that stuff, I'll turn this back on. But I'd rather travel around an open world because I saw something cool. So like in Elden Ring, you can just go somewhere because it's there. Like I don't, when I'm exploring, I was like, oh, there's something on that hill. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna find out. And I go up there, and maybe I find something. Maybe I find a boss. Maybe I find a bonfire. Maybe if I just find a cool view. But I went there just because I felt like it, and I can fast travel around, and I can just ride around on my horse and look around. And there's nothing like in a game like Skyrim. You're always supposed to be doing something. There's at least the main story that's trying to get you to go do it. Bethesda games are all like that. I posted a meme today about one of the Fallout games where it's like you can be avoiding somewhere, but after a while, you have like 3 quests that are really, really trying to get you to go to this one vault over here. Like the game really wants you to go do that. And I hadn't thought of it this way until Elden Ring. Steve was the one who articulated it. It was that Elden Ring shows that sometimes narrative can be a limiting factor in enjoying a world, and I had never seen it that way before. I had always seen it as a drawback that Elden Ring, the Souls games, didn't have a story. I never looked at that as a boon. But now I never feel like I'm doing the wrong thing ever. I always feel like whatever I'm doing is exactly what I want to be doing. Nobody's bothering me saying, Navi's not popping up in the corner saying, "Hey, you should probably go to Death Mountain. Like you should probably go. It looks like it's on fire. You should probably go over there."
Probably should though.
And I probably should, but if it's an open world and it gives me the option to explore, I like to not feel like the game's trying to funnel me somewhere. Like Chris said with Assassin's Creed, I want to go here. You're telling me I have to arbitrarily reach this number, this hidden value, to be able to go there. Why? From a story standpoint, like if they want to control the pacing, I get that. I get why they do that. But the freedom of open worlds is really nice. I think Breath of the Wild, I've been thinking about that a lot because of Elden Ring. I thought that I didn't like Breath of the Wild because it didn't have enough direction, but I think now that I don't like it because I just never cared about what any of the NPCs said. Like in that game, none of the characters.
Oh.
Yeah, well, sorry, Lizzie loved that game. It was very pretty to watch, but I don't think I ever saw a character where I was really like, oh yeah, really like this. It's like when I think back to Ocarina of Time, there weren't really characters in there that like super popped for me. At the time, I really, I liked them because I liked the game. But the characters are pretty simple. Like most of the game happens as you like do cool stuff in dungeons and explore and climb mountains and all that. But I think I just didn't care about the missions and the stories and the people that you met in Breath of the Wild. Whereas when I went to Elden Ring, there's no one to care about. So I don't have to, like, it's just me and a couple NPCs that have like 2 sentences of dialogue, and that's it. But like I said, I never saw that as a good thing until like this week.
The funny thing about the Souls games and Elden Ring in particular actually brings us to something that we briefly mentioned at one point in a conversation. To me, it feels like it's an East versus West game design thing. Yep. Because the games that I play that are open world are JRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
And so Breath of the Wild, I will call it a JRPG. Because it is thematically, story-wise, that's where it's heavy on. It's heavy on Japanese themes.
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon Legends Arceus, absolutely. And it actually brings up the whole marker thing. So like Arceus and especially Xenoblade, it's one of the reasons why I love Xenoblade Chronicles 2, is that it actually gives you this massive fucking world. Like when you're talking real time of your character running across the map, and if it's going to take you 30 plus minutes to do that, that's an open world game. If it's a JRPG, it's still an open world game, and the maps there, and again with Arceus, it's you have everything available to you, but then you have the option of, hey, you know what? This is your place to explore. We gave you a topic, with this quest at the very beginning. We said, hey, you should probably do this, but you're going to meet people along the way, and if you do want to take them up on what they're asking for, do it. Have a good fucking time.
Mhm.
And the only thing is that it's not going to throw all the icons on the map because it knows that you're going to be single focused at times. That you're going to want to just fuck around and throw Pokeballs at everything and see what happens. And you're going to get killed by multiple alpha Pokemon because you're not ready.
Right.
And so when you are ready, you say, you know what, I'm going to choose a quest now. And maybe I'll find that it's not going to be possible for me because I need this or I need that or I need a particular Pokemon to do this. But at the end of the day, you're whittling down these missions and finding yourself, and that's really what it is to me. It's exploring your characters, exploring your party in that very personal way, and you technically have all the stuff at your disposal to do so, and live out these adventures on a little bit more intimate level than most games.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say something too about Horizon that's been interesting to me is the it has like Metroidvania elements in a way. You'll like stumble upon like a side mission or a ancient ruin where you kind of like solve puzzles and get through, and then you get some chests and things like that. But you'll get to places like to do the side mission, and Aloy will go, well, I can't get through here. I guess I'll have to come back later, or I'll have to find another way around, or these kind of. But the come back later thing is interesting because it's like, oh, I don't have the ability to do whatever that is yet.
Which is it's gated just like the other game by a level cap, but instead of saying you must be this tall to ride this ride, it says you lack the item that you need to get here. You just don't know that you're probably going to get the item around level blah blah blah. It's a different way of doing that same thing. It just feels a lot better.
Yeah, it's not as it's just like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go like, and it's all these things are non-consequential, right? Like it's not like story-based things. It's like just side content. So me seeing that stuff and being like, oh, well, that metal flower I can't do anything with, but I bet you at some point I'll be able to do something with it. And I think the first thing is like the red flowers on the wall that you like ignite later on and they explode.
Yeah.
It's very Zelda-like in that aspect of, you'll see something, you'll be like, oh, well, I can't do that now because I don't have the bracelet that makes me lift up pots.
The power bracelet, I mean? Right.
Yeah. Like that kind of stuff is, I think it's really well done in that game, but I just know that so many of these open worlds don't do that stuff as well. Like I feel like, and I'm playing the version of Horizon that is like full HUD. You can see everything. It's not the Explorer version or whatever. They give you two options at the beginning. It's like, do you want the hand-holdy version or the just Explorer version? And I was like, give me the hand-holdy because I don't want to be here for 100 hours. I just want to be able to want to be able to get in, have a good time, get the story done. We're good.
Chris, you might try the other one. I mean, Lizzie's playing Horizon right now, and I don't know what mode she has enabled, but you can swipe up or down on the pad, and it will either show or hide your HUD. So, like, right now, all she sees is her health bar, the button to summon her mount, and that's it. And so if she wants to see the HUD anytime, she could just, like, swipe it up. But it's nice, just anecdotally, that this one allows you to take in this beautiful world more and not have to worry about all the quest stuff, especially, or like your buttons. Even in Elden Ring, if you're not in combat, a lot of your UI will disappear for a while, which is fine because, like, I already know what my buttons are, and I could just press one of them to refresh the UI to get it to come up. But it's nice because it gives me a chance to really take in this world without the HUD, like totally in my way. Just to go back to like getting stressed out about markers and stuff. It's nice that like, yeah, they may not take the markers off the compass, but if they just take the compass away, it solved my problem. Or if I have the option for that to disappear.
And I think the design of the open world matters too. Like the way those markers are placed. Like if it's easy to go, oh well, here's my next story mission here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have 3 side things kind of on the way. Like that helps so much of being like, oh well, as I'm going that way, I'll just like check some of these off.
Mm-hmm.
And get some experience points and all that kind of like the drip feed of skill points in this game is crazy,
right?
I don't think I've ever, like in most games I'm like mid-maxing sort of, so I'm like going, oh, I'm pretty good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Here I'm like nearly the whole entire infiltrator thing is full and nearly the whole entire hunter thing is full.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what Lizzie picked.
And
identically.
And like the trapper stuff is like almost there. But what I find, like, even though those are the things that I'm like putting my points into, like some of the stuff I'm doing I'm not doing like, I noticed that like when things get hairy, it just becomes a melee, like you just have to start melee combating. But I haven't put a ton of points into melee. So I'm doing fine. But I'm sure I could be doing better if I start actually putting some points into that.
You got to be your best Aloy.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's that?
You got to be your best Aloy.
Yes. But man, they just give you so much. You constantly feel like you're progressing and getting new stuff and cool shit. Where in some of these open worlds we've talked about, it can feel like you're kind of stuck and you're not progressing as much as you need to. Like you have to complete this thing to advance. It's like, no, well, in this game you can go do about 100 different things in advance. Like I'm sure there's like I'm sure there's like parts where it's like, no, you specifically have to do this thing in order for the things to move forward. But and that's something too. Like if we're talking about what are we looking at here, Thomas? What is this?
This is Breath of the Wild. This is the 2017 trailer for this game.
I see. I thought you were maybe showing. So what I thought this was for a second, I thought you were showing the Sonic open world, because that's coming. Clearly, they've already announced that, and Breath of the Wild 2 is coming. So like, Breath of the Wild itself kind of changed. I don't want to say it changed the way video games are made, but like, it was such a huge success. And people loved the obtuseness of it, like it didn't quite tell you everything. Like you found out the hard way if you were wearing metal armor and it started raining that you were going to get electrocuted.
Right. Well, and then Skyrim and Oblivion. Oblivion was my first open world game. I think Skyrim's a better game, but I still like Oblivion more. It was the first game. I remember showing that to my mom because I'm playing in the living room in like middle school. And I remember being in this overlook where everything's green and there are these trees. And of course, looking at it now, you're like, wow, things sure have come a long way. But I remember like looking at the hills and the trees and stuff and just being blown away at how good the game looked. And the idea that I was like, anything I can see from here, I can just go touch, right? You see a mountain, you can go climb it. Skyrim was very influential. It's one of the most influential games of our lifetimes, honestly. But Breath of the Wild was like, you can literally climb the mountain. Like, you can scale anything. So it took the idea that if you see it, you could climb it and made that a literal possibility. And I saw a post somewhere that was like, the headline was Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild are going to inspire games for the next generation. It's too bad I'm not going to be able to enjoy them. And what I gleaned from like the comments in there was like, this person just doesn't like open world games for whatever the reasons were. I didn't read the article, but I can understand that. I could think of all sorts of reasons why I wouldn't want to play an open world game. Maybe it takes too long to beat. Maybe I can't play often enough to remember what's going on in the world or what I was doing or anything like that. I mean, I could come up with plenty of reasons. Halo 1 came out in 2001, and 20 years later, they breathed life, or they breathe life into it, if depending on where you stand on that, and make it open world after 20 years. Elden Ring, the Souls games have been out for, I think, a little over 20 years, I want to say, but a long time, and they just did an open world. Pokemon, it just had Arceus, its first open world. There's an open world Sonic game. There's just all the stuff where it's like, there's. It wasn't always possible to do what we do now with open worlds the way they are. Like now we have the hardware and all these things to do incredible things. Such as Breath of the Wild. Like it was just like, holy shit, you took this formula and you just blew it up like a balloon. All that stuff is there. It's just there's a ton of stuff in between it as well. You still got the dungeons, you still got the characters, you still got the items, you still got all these things, but now you just got a bigger playground to play in. And I like that stuff. Well, I mean, there are things about it I like. I mean, I've talked a whole lot about open worlds being very intimidating for me. So yeah. I was pretty surprised to like the exploration in Elden Ring so much. Especially like after last week, Chris, you said the same thing, or you said the opposite. You're like, or you said I'm becoming like Thomas because what was it? It was you're getting overwhelmed by the open world stuff, Yeah. And so there's like definitely open world fatigue. I do feel bad for people who really don't like open world stuff because it seems like this is going to be a trend for a minute. Carlos, you said in here that even though, what is it? With the Pokemon game being open world, it was like, well, is there going to be enough to do in here? And you're like, yeah, there's plenty. Like,
yeah.
It's like you're not going to be hurting for, activities to go spend your time on.
Yeah, until I looked at my freaking clock today. I wrote down over 90 hours of Arceus, and then I look at my Switch. I'm like, well, shit, it's over 100. Okay. And so yeah, it's very easy to get burned out on this, and it's so funny to me that this is a cyclical thing. It's been 5 years since Breath of the Wild. It seems like this is just gonna be it. Like Metroidvanias have their day, which indies are just still pumping out so many Metroidvanias, but I think that's gonna get another big boon once Silk Song comes out eventually. And I would love to know what the next genre is going to be, but if you are hurting for things, just find those people like us that want to recommend things and can get you into the groove of a particular game, something that's going to hit all the right buttons for you. Like for example, I do want to remind everybody that, dude, Sable, play it. Holy shit, it is so good, and it's an open world game. It's fantastic. It's got a completely unique world. You can do several things. That's the one thing that it does limit on, is that there's not quite as much to do in it as some of these other games. There's no combat. You don't have to get stat upgrades or anything. You're really finding yourself, literally. The whole point of Sable is that you're finding your character's self in order to identify a certain part of, are you going to be a member of this tribe that you grew up with? Or are you going to go out and be something completely different? And you're literally finding masks of different potential occupations or what have you. I forget what they specifically call them in game. And then you're finding lore in this world that has a really incredible story that probably half the people that touched Sable didn't even finish. But at the end of the day, it's so non-committal about being an open world. It's like, hey, there's this whole thing. I don't give a fuck what you do. It's on you. That's literally your decision. This is your life. do what you will with it. And it's a very much a like God complex sort of thing to say to a player, but it is what it is, and it's a very pleasing way to go about an open world situation.
I think burnout happens in these games just because there is so much to do. But I would say just pace yourself a little bit. Like that's like something I'm thinking about now. Is like if I try Elden Ring, I'm playing back to back open worlds, and I'm like, that just doesn't seem like a good idea. Like that sounds terrible. So just try to break it up, play other games in between, or like whatever you need to do, or play multiple games at usually I'm playing multiple games at a time. But
I think that's why we've seen so many companies embrace open worlds, because the average age of gamer is always going to be real young, because there are always going to be more new gamers than there were before. Like every generation is going to be gaming more than the generation before it. And I think they're seeing people like us who want to go into these worlds where they want one world where they can just spend a bunch of time and come back to. You've got MMOs where people keep coming back to. They have a routine where you can do daily quests, right?
Yep.
Even in Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing is almost open world adjacent in like a silly way, where you've got your island that you terraform and you walk around and explore, and it gives this sense of comfort that I think people in our age group are really into. Lizzie's playing Cozy Grove right now, which is, to me, a more interesting version of Animal Crossing. Same thing with a clock where it just hits spring as it hits spring, like in real life. And all this other stuff. But it's just like, it's something you can keep coming back to. It's comfort food where even after years of playing, you can still see something new. Like Chris, I would say don't buy Elden Ring for a while, right? Because that game is still going to be equally good when you play it later. The whole world will be there. There will still be people like me who will be like, hell yeah, you want a partner? I haven't played that in a while. I'll boot it up. And that one's different because it has multiplayer, where a lot of open world games are single player. But I see it as almost a melding of like the heyday of MMOs, where you could play an MMO. I could play World of Warcraft by myself and go quest and do all sorts of stuff just on my own, exploring this world, checking out quest lines. I go to totally different zones that have cool mechanics and enemies and environments. Or I can play with my friends and buddy up and go do dungeons. I can just run around this world with them and goof off. I can go gather materials and stuff. And I think that for a lot of people, MMOs are behind them for the most part. Or if like there was some news that it looks like WoW Classic is going to now do the second expansion that it came out with, which was the last WoW content I ever played. So it's doubling down on that. Hey, remember that thing you liked? We're going to do that again. I think companies are seeing open world games as an opportunity to really bring people in for the long haul. I mean, look, Skyrim is one of the best-selling games of all time, and it just keeps selling. Todd Howard said, we'll stop making updates for Skyrim when you stop buying it, because people won't stop buying it. So everybody else is like, well, shoot, if everybody's just going to keep sticking with this game, they're going to buy it on multiple platforms, they're going to keep coming back, they're going to recommend it to their friends, and the people who continue to play it only like it more as they play. It sounds like a wonderful way to get like a new audience for an old IP. So I think that's kind of what's going on, because it's like Elden Ring is almost scratching an MMO itch for me, in a really funny way. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot more of this. It's just a trend that we're now seeing the results of, because Elden Ring's been in the oven for a while, Horizon's been in the oven for a while. It really seems like everybody played Breath of the Wild and said, we want this, we're going to do this now.
Yeah. So
for better or for worse, there's a lot of open world out there to play. Before we button this up, what are a couple of y'all favorite elements of an open world game? Like, what are you looking for? What's that one thing that really gets you coming back? Like, you wake up and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to jump back in.
Well, I'd say it's got to have at least for me anyway, the story has to be fascinating in order for me to like want to go back into the world and play it, right? Or the world has to be fascinating. Like a game that I kind of dabbled with and it was fine was Greedfall, right? The world itself and the idea of it was so cool, but I felt like when I would get to like story stuff and talking to characters, it would kind of fall flat. And I was like, but everything about it was cool. Like the creatures were cool, the way your characters could be different. You could be like a spellcaster or a warrior or whatever. Like all these different things. Like it gave you those options. But the world itself was fascinating. But if I am getting bored by the people talking to me, then what is my incentive to go to the next place? So I think it has to have a really strong story/world basically to keep you going. Because like basically if Greedfall had like a little less oh, indubitably, sir, we're here in the olden times and blah blah blah, and just like, okay, let's get through this. I don't have to have 40 dialogue options for everyone because it's not giving me anything new. You know what I mean? It's like let's keep it going. I want to see more of this world. I want to see more of what's going on here. It just like, you know, those parts have to be strong.
That makes sense. For me, it's the traversal element. You know, what are you writing? How are you getting around?
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, you have the Da Vinci machines. Breath of the Wild really innovated on the climbing methods. Sable has very similar climbing, but it's also very limited. Because that's one thing about Sable is you can see parts in that game. You can see parts of the world there that you can't actually go far enough to. But there is that amazing hover bike thing that you can customize in Sable, and it's absolutely stellar because the second you get on it, that Japanese breakfast music starts going, and you're just in a vibe.
Yeah, I'd say too. In Horizon, there's a mount, or like you can have mounts, but I honestly have I'll ride it a little bit and then I'll hop off and run around. Like I'd rather in that world be like in the world, just kind of running around, than riding a machine. Like it keeps telling me it's like, oh, if you want to learn how to take over these machines and ride them, you should go do that cauldron. I'm like, I'm just not going to use it that much. I think I'm good on that. You know, like it's giving me the option to be like, hey, how do you want to traverse it?
Yeah, and in Horizon and in Breath of the Wild, you've got that glider. I love climbing up to the highest thing I can see and just sending it.
Send it.
Yep.
The grapple hook in the Just Cause series, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'd say that the grapple hook in Horizon is rather disappointing. It's fine. It gets the job done, but it is not by any means fun.
Yeah. Man, I do love a game with good traversal. I love the gameplay loop of just like, it's fun to zip around. Like, half the time, like with Just Cause, it's like, I don't even care what's over there. We're going. You know, I'm going to grapple something crazy. Even in Halo Infinite, when I saw that the grappling hook is infinite, I'm just like, am I Spider-Man? Am I Spider-Man right now? You know, or even watching Lizzie play actual Spider-Man on PlayStation, it was just like, I don't even need to know how the city needs saving. I'm just going to keep climbing around and slinging webs for a minute.
Yeah.
But no, my favorite part is just being able to, if you see it, you can do it. You know, if you believe it, then you can do it. Just like going down the street and like seeing some cool hidden pathway that has, or you know, in Skyrim you'll see like the stones that are set up that mark a trail. Like I love seeing those and just being like, ooh, I wonder what's over there. Even if the payoff is just like a regular old cave, I like that idea of like, ooh, kind of looking around, being, you know, realizing something's like you're kind of making your own path. Like you're just choosing to go down here because it seems interesting. I really like that when it feels like the world actually exists there. Like you can see how someone in the real world would get from the main path to the cave, or how you might naturally find some hidden path under a waterfall or some hidden little cave under an overlook or something. But I like it when the world really feels lived in, like actual humans would use it.
Yeah.
And you can kind of travel around that way. Elden Ring has none of that. No humans live in that whole world.
No.
But in a game like Skyrim, when that game first came out, I loved just like discovering, oh, there's a house on this hill. Oh, and this person clearly is a fisherman based on what's going on here. Like that environmental storytelling, I guess, I like a lot.
Yeah.
You see that in like Fallout and stuff too.
Yeah.
Even in Arceus, you can find almost every mythical Pokemon's lair far before you ever get the chance to actually see and catch them.
That's cool.
Well, you guys ready to wrap this thing up since we're coming up on 2 hours?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's see. I will wrap this up. This has been the Party Invite Podcast. Where's my script?
Oh my god.
This has been the Party Invite Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, watching, and joining us on Twitch and Spotify. Here's your weekly reminder to find more of our content and our community at partyinvite.games. We have threads on Facebook and Discord, actually, for Elden Ring, for Horizon, and some other stuff. So if you want a non-spoiler way, well, depending on how you're going to consume it, to talk about those games, then go find us. We've got a lot of people grouping up for Elden Ring, especially on our Discord, but we're still doing Tuesday night Project Zomboid. That is going to go indefinitely. So once again, if you have any interest in killing zombies and exploring a world, we're doing a roleplay server right now, and we're having a blast with that. Ask Russ about Cornelius Winterbottom. It's a good one. So, other than that, do you guys have anything else to say before we get out of here?
Horizon's dope.
Horizon's dope. All right, y'all. We will catch you next week.
Right.
Bye.
Later.